Services Director, and Captain Clint Smith with the Madison Police Department. At 05:52 this morning, we were dispatched to a reported building fire, which had turned out to be an outside storage tank full of 11,000 gallons of what we thought at first was a roof sealant. It turns out it is like an asphalt, liquid asphalt. It was venting and had fire. We dispatched companies to deploy lines, and we did not put any water on the product at first. We had companies come and tried to put Purple K on the fire to try to put it out. Purple K was ineffective. We've called the regional hazmat team, the emergency management. We have an evacuation zone right now of 1,000 feet in all directions, and everybody within a half mile is sheltering in place. We have drones in the air trying to do monitoring and constant crews going in and out to see the product and make sure it's not expanding or gotten any worse. So at that point, do we have any questions? Air monitoring is in place, by the way, for all the area within a half a mile. So if there's any questions about that, I'll refer you to the state regional hazmat team and emergency management. Any questions?
Is there a risk of it getting worse?
We are in the process now of monitoring the heat and the outside and inside. We pulled some of the insulation away from the tank to try and access the product. At first we thought it was an insulation fire on the outside, which was good news. The product continued to increase in speed, smoke, and venting, and we started getting some sounds out of it that we don't like. So we went ahead and evacuated all fire personnel out of the blast zone. Right now it is semi-stable, but it is increasing in temperature, which we are trying to figure out why. We've been on the phone with the people that make the product out of Canada and the safety people out of Canada that are in the product, and they are giving us advice on whether to put foam on it, what to put on it to contain it, and try to cool it. And we're trying to figure out where the heat source that is continuing to keep it melt. It's like lava. It gets, as cooler it gets, the harder it's supposed to get. But it is not doing that, and that's what we're trying to figure out.
Do you know how full the tank is? Could vapors be a problem as well?
It is a 17,000 gallon tank, and we're right now, from the way the gauge on the outside looks, it's about 11,500 gallons left in the tank. And I can't tell you how much of that product is actually on fire. We don't want to induce air or water into the tank from either the top or the bottom at this time until we have an accurate idea of how safe it is, how stable it's going to be.
And so, looking at the tank from the outside, the tank might not look like it's on fire. Everything is inside the tank. That's where it's all
It
happening.
is taking stages where it looks like it's getting better. So we send a recon team in and the drone, and then it tends to increase. The smoke increases, and everything else around it starts to increase, and then we have to regroup again and start over.
Can you say the name of the exact chemical again?
Well, it's just a generic liquid asphalt. According to the MSD sheet that we were obtained on site, it is a liquid asphalt, which is pretty much the same as the stuff out here, only in liquid form.
And is there a possibility for explosion?
That is what we're trying to determine. Some experts right now are on the fence about whether it's going to explode or just actually leak out and what we call fish mouth, and it just opens up and leaks out. We're trying to determine that right now at that time.
And you mentioned some sounds that you didn't like. What kind of sounds did you hear?
Anytime it's just like a structure fire. If the smoke starts moving very fast and turbulent, and it starts making hissing noises, we don't like that. So we made the determination, speaking with the experts on the phone, we decided to go ahead and evacuate, leave all lines in place, and evacuate all fire units to a safe distance.
There's multiple different fire departments here. I've
Yes.
seen Summerfield, Stokesdale. Has the coordination between all departments been fluid and
Yes,
so far?
yes. We've got just about the whole entire west side of Rockingham County in place. The east side usually does a standby for us when we get tied up like this. And we have Guilford, and we also have Stokes if we need them on standby as well, yes.
And then when it comes to, the evacuations, the shelter in place, for residents who are watching, how seriously do they need to be taking these?
According to what we found on the DOT guidebook and MSD, right now it is an inhalation hazard. It's just like when you go by, when they're paving the road, it's the same kind of smell. It's very irritant. If it gets in your house, if you've got respiratory problems, which is the reason why we have not expanded the evacuation zone any farther than we did. That is fluent. We could still evacuate farther depending on the wind directions and how big the product starts to expand and what we come up with on the next go-around for recon.
You mentioned being on the phone with the manufacturers in Canada. You're still trying to figure out the best way to fight this
Yes.
with their advice?
Yes, with their advice.
When you figure out the best way to fight this, will you be able to go right back in and attack it, or do you still need to hold crews back?
We are hoping that at a certain point in time, if they get it to where it's safe, we can cool it in a way that does not induce air or water into the tank that will cause it to solidify. And whatever is causing the heat source to continue, all power has been cut to the tank completely. So whatever is causing us to regenerate the heat, we're going to try to mitigate that and cause it to cool and basically turn it into a big giant rubber plug, basically, so to speak, if we can do that.
Another question too, when it comes to, Winston-Salem dealt with the Weaver fire. Have
Yes.
you reached out to them as well in this circumstance?
The regional hazmat team is out of Greensboro Fire Department, but we have not been in touch with Winston-Salem. But I used to work there, so I'm sure he'll reach out to me. It's happened before. I reached out to him after the fertilizer fire, so I would assume Chief Mayo and I will probably be in contact eventually, yes.
And what time did you say that call came in at originally?
It was at 05:52 was when the first units were dispatched. And we are right, it's right behind the station, so we were there within 3 to 4 minutes.
Roughly how many residential homes would you say are in that area?
Captain Smith, do we have any idea how we think that might be?
I'd say 50 to 75 in the general area. We have went out and evacuated. We're still in the processes, as he was saying, as it's changing, we may come and knock on their door. So if we do show up, it's for a reason. So.
EMS has had to evacuate some non-ambulatory people into ambulances. Forsyth County is responding with their bus, which is a very useful tool. It's a mobile hospital. They can do rehab. They can do firefighter rehab. They can do basically be a hospital for anybody that needs to be out here for a long period of time if the hospitals can't take them. So they're on their way. They're going to be setting up. So far, we've only had 2 or 3 people that were non-ambulatory that the ambulances had to evacuate, and they're in a safe place now. And some of those citizens that are evacuated, they're sheltering at the fire station.
You mentioned you used Purple K on it, but it didn't work. What is Purple K?
Purple K is a dry powder. It basically because of the color, it is what they use on aircraft firefighting trucks. Shiloh Fire Department has an aircraft firefighting truck they bought from Greensboro Airport years ago, and we called them first because they have a small airport. And they came out here, and they have some portable packs that they put on and tried to douse it with that. It worked for a little while, but it has not worked. The company itself put it with fire extinguishers on it, dry chemical fire extinguishers. That did not work. And then we've done the same thing, and it worked for a little while, and then it began to increase. So.
Air quality, is that the biggest risk right now? And if so, any advice for people even outside the evacuation zone that might still be close to the area?
I would stay out of if you're outside, I would stay out of the evacuation zone completely. No, don't come anywhere near. I would say within the half-mile radius. If you live in a half-mile radius, keep your windows and doors locked. Keep everything closed up. Try not to. If there is issues and you feel like it's becoming an issue in your residence, make a phone call. But we're not trying to inundate 911 with a bunch of calls saying that their house has got full of smoke or anything like that. We're trying to mitigate that with reverse 911 or code red, what we call it, to let everybody know what's going on in the area, and hopefully they've all adhered to that. So.
And do you know if there's any schools that might be having
Yes.
recess?
We've made contact with the schools. They've been made aware of all the situation. They are doing a shelter in place also. And they are a distance away to where we feel confident they're good.
And do you know what school that is by chance?
The Dillard Academy. Dillard Academy and Western Rockingham Middle School. That's the 2 that we have here in town.
You mentioned something about Code Red. Can you tell residents in the community how to get be part of the Code Red system?
To be part of the Code Red, they go on the Rockingham County website. They can go to the emergency management page. There is a link there where they can sign up for Code Red. The Code Red was sent out this morning, was sent out for a half-mile radius of the location, which only grasps those people that were impacted by this event.
Is there a timetable right now to when this event could be resolved, or is it just
It's fluid right now. It could be hours. I'm hoping it's not going to be longer than that, but it's a matter. It's all about what the product decides to do.
The proximity of the station to where the fire was, has that been a helpful factor in this whole process so far?
Anytime you can get closer to a fire is the best way to do it. But I mean, it's not a major factor, but it is nice to have an incident. Everybody would like to have their incident a second from the fire station, but it just doesn't always work that way.
And was it you guys that seen it, or was somebody make the call nearby?
There was a truck driver that was making a delivery. He saw it first thing this morning, and he's the one that made the phone call. And he attempted to put it out with a fire extinguisher and was not able to.
And so when you first showed up, outside visible flames were there?
Yes, going up, leaping up the back of the structure between where the building is and the tank itself, it was venting and there was visible fire. We knocked that down initially with more dry chemicals, and then it looked like it was starting to get better. But like I said, it's going through a cycle. It'll get better. We'll move in to do recon with the drone and some teams, and then it'll start decreasing, and we just have to regroup again.
From the brief bit, there's multiple tanks at that area.
That is correct.
It's just one tank
That
that's
is correct.
affected right now, but is there any risk of the other tanks being affected?
There is a tank right next to it within 3 feet that right now has 6,000 gallons of the same product in it. It has been shut down, and we're monitoring that to see if it is cooling the proper way, so it will cool down. And the flame impingement is blowing towards between the building and the tank itself, so you're not having an issue with exposure at this time. And if that is the case, and we see that beginning to happen, we can still try to mitigate that with some light fog streams or something like that. But that has not come to that point yet.
Have there been any issues with the company or the product before?
No, none that we're aware of.
If you said so and I missed it, I apologize.
Mhm.
What is the name of the company?
It's called Seal Masters, and it's at 703 West Decatur Street.
We're gonna try to also give updates on our town Facebook page, and also we'll try to reach back out again a later time to give you another update.
Do you have an idea on what time or when the next
Not at
update
this
will be?
point, it's gonna be based off of what they're seeing. All the roads in the general area have been shut down, traffic has been rerouted, and again, we just ask anybody that doesn't have to be in the area to try to avoid it.
Anything further?
I think we're all good.
Okay,
Thanks, gentlemen, very much.
no problem.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
I need a beer.
Say it one thing.
Yeah.
So you did good. I didn't say anything.
No, well, I need a beer. No.
Don't go anywhere, we're gonna grab all this mic stuff.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, yeah, I don't want to steal all those. I don't need any more stuff hanging off me.
Want that lime on there,
Yeah.
do they?
There's Paige, you're gonna wanna get a call about that.
Yeah, I'm not supposed to do anything.
I even forget